Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user BottleLongJumping420. My 27 female ex, 26 male, dumped me in January after 9 years together because he didn't think I was wife material. Now he reached out wanting to talk because he needs to get something off his chest. I don't know why he's doing this or if I should meet him. I don't want to go too much into the details, but for the last 9 years I lost myself to Nate, my ex. He was my world. Everything I did was for him. I helped him through depression, helped get and keep his grades up, and even worked 2 jobs so he could focus on college since his parents disowned him for nearly 3 years because they didn't agree with the major or college he chose. Bear in mind, I was also a college student. When his parents started talking to him again and started to financially support him, we moved into a new apartment. Nate said he wanted me to quit my job, I didn't, because it was his turn to take care of me. For 16 months, everything was great. He spoiled me, and then I noticed he was more interested in his new friends and he ignored me completely. Then, back in December, he did a 180 again and he love-bombed me the whole month. He really went out of his way to make Christmas magical for me. I honestly believed he was going to propose. Then, on January the 2nd, he made me my favorite dinner and made this speech about me being his first love, how I've been there since high school, and I kept thinking, any minute now, he's gonna ask me to marry him. But no, he dumped me. As his speech went on, my world fell apart. He tried to sugarcoat what he was saying, but he basically said, "You were a good girlfriend, but that's what you'll always be to me, a girlfriend. I don't see you as my wife or the mother of my children, blah blah blah. You served your purpose, now I don't need you anymore, blah blah blah. I need someone on my level, blah blah blah. You're a gold digger, I'll give you 30 days to move out." I couldn't speak, and he stared at me looking for a response. I think this lasted 20 minutes before he said he'd sleep in the guest room and then left. Strangely, I didn't cry or get angry. I just ordered cardboard boxes online and then went to bed. The next day, I waited for him to leave the apartment before I left my room. Then I called my boss and asked, well, I begged really, if I could transfer anywhere. She told me there wasn't anything, but if something came up in my department, she'd consider me. I then reached out to everyone I knew that wasn't also Nate's friend for a place to stay. My cousin invited me to stay in her spare room for as long as I needed, and I could move in straight away, so that was amazing. In the 4 days it took me to pack my stuff and move out, I didn't see or speak to Nate. I doubt he even noticed. I didn't trust myself at the time to ignore a "you up" text, so I blocked him and everyone close to him. I even changed my number and email to make sure he couldn't reach out to me. The first night at my cousin's was the night everything hit me. I think I cried every night the first month. I honestly felt like crap. I thought about what Nate said over and over again. It made me feel so low, like I was nothing. He only stayed with me because I was just there. But thankfully, my cousin sent for my mom, other cousins, and real friends to give me an intervention which I badly needed. I believe that first month, I wouldn't have made it without my cousin. I'm still healing and waiting on that job transfer before I feel like if I'm not in the same city as Nate and I have a place of my own, the fresh start would do me a world of good. Anyway, I thought by now I'd be a distant memory for Nate. But shockingly, he sent me flowers to my job today for my birthday, which was on Sunday. Apparently, he went to my parents' house looking for me too, and my mom admitted he's been there before, dropping off stuff and trying to ask questions about me, but they told him to F off. The flowers came with a card that said, "Dear OP, happy belated birthday. I've been thinking about you non-stop for the last few months, especially with how everything ended. I need to get something off my chest that I feel will haunt me for the rest of my life if I don't tell you this to your face, but I have no way of contacting you. If it's possible, can we meet up in the near future? Nate." What could he want? What's haunting him that he needs to say to my face? Everyone in my life is telling me to ignore him, but they hate him. I'm torn, but I can't lie. My curiosity is telling me meet him to see what he wants. Has anyone been in my shoes or in Nate's? You would not be the a-hole if you don't meet him. What you went through wasn't just a breakup, it was emotional whiplash wrapped in betrayal. After you behaved like a partner with him, he dumped you with a speech that basically reduced your role in his life to a placeholder. Now he's sending flowers and talking about being haunted? F him and anything he wants to get off his chest. Regret isn't accountability. He may be feeling something, but that something doesn't mean he deserves access to you again. You don't need to hear what's haunting him. Let it haunt him. Block, delete. Keep building your new life. Sometimes healing means not needing to know. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Cultural Section 862 says, not gonna lie, I didn't read all that. I just wanted to say, just because he needs to say something doesn't mean you need to hear it. I doubt it's anything that would add value to your life. He's likely wanting to alleviate guilt for some long ago trespass. And Opie responds, my cousin thinks he tried to monkey branch and it didn't work out. Stegosaur ID says, not the a-hole. I haven't been in your shoes or Nate's, but F that guy. You owe him exactly 0 emotional labor. Who cares what he wants? Best case scenario is he thinks he made a terrible mistake and wants you back, and that's bad, because he doesn't deserve you. Or he's going to tell you how great you are and you deserve a life of happiness with someone who appreciates you, blah blah blah. While the second option is true, you don't need to hear it from him. Take it from the people who actually love you and random Redditors who recognize this piece of crap for what he is. And the how everything ended part, he isn't even acknowledging what he did. He couldn't even bring himself to say how I left or how I hurt you. If he's that desperate to say something, he can put it in a letter and leave it with your parents. Then you can open it and satisfy your curiosity or toss it in a cleansing bonfire. And Special Like Cheese 6847 says, I have something really important to tell you and I have to say it because it will haunt me if I don't. Come on, he sent you the relationship version of clickbait, and has there ever been one that was worth the waste of time? It will haunt him. Well, that's too bad then, isn't it? Let it haunt him. He's not your problem anymore. He thought he could find some Stepford wife or even more Stepford than you were being, and he was going to trade up and up until he had the bestest trophy wife ever, but for some odd reason, he couldn't find anyone as good as you. And now he would like to get in touch again so he can love bomb you and reinstall you as his good little partner. Please don't. Tapiti Tapa says, whatever it is, the reason he wants to unload onto you is so that he can forget about it and pass the hurt onto you. Do not go, don't let him. It doesn't matter what it was. He isn't thinking about you with this, just himself. That is the only clue you need. This will be something to further prove he is a selfish a-hole who does not care about your well-being. You already know this, so what's the point? Well, the community is urging OP to let go of whatever he's trying to say and just move on with their life, that there's no point in hearing him out because he's just scum. So let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. So we ended up meeting, and no, I didn't go to him. I had told the receptionist at my work that if he came looking for me, to just say I'm out for the day. I did this after he showed up once and I didn't want the drama of him around my job. So Nate just kept going to the usual places that I like to go. He went to the grocery store I go to every Saturday evening, or the park I run at Sunday mornings, in his words, until he would eventually run into me. And he did so yesterday. He was waiting at the coffee shop I go to after my morning run. When I saw him, I tried to turn around and leave, but he kept calling me. So I thought to myself, if everything went pear-shaped, a coffee shop would be a safer place than my walk home. So I just sat down and asked him what he wanted. He gave me an apology that wasn't an apology. You know the type, I'm sorry, but, and pity me. He blamed his mental health, his job, his parents, his friends, everyone but himself. I took someone's advice on here and said, cut the crap, I already know everything. He genuinely looked shocked and stared at me for a second. I guess he thought his coworker already told me everything, so he couldn't lie. Here's what really happened. He fell for a girl in his office. When he told me her name, I knew her immediately. I've met her a few times. He told me for the last 2 years he idolized her. To be fair, she's beautiful with an amazing personality, and he hated me because I was the one stopping them from being together. Because his coworker was too classy to be a side piece. When he broke up with me, he confessed to her that he was madly in love with her and he ended a 9-year relationship to be with her. Well, here's where it gets funny. She doesn't even like him, lol. She called him a piece of trash and told him if he ever spoke to her outside work, she'd report him to HR. So I asked him, what has any of this got to do with me? Like, we are over. I clearly cut ties. There's no reason for us to speak. He said he wants to try again and promised we'd get married before the year ends, that we belong together. I told him I'm nobody's second choice. He threw me away after 9 years and said some pretty cruel things to me, and now he thinks if he snaps his fingers I'll come running back? He tried to beg and fake tears, bringing the good times in our relationship. I told him please leave me alone as he wasted too much of my time already. I texted my cousin to meet me at the coffee shop. He kept saying nonsense. He even suggested if we went to couples counseling for a few months, he'd leave me alone. The 20 minutes it took for my cousin to arrive felt like 20 years. In the end, I just stopped listening and stood at the counter making small talk with baristas till my cousin arrived. She told him to F off, and if he tried to follow us, she'd call her brothers. He stayed in the coffee shop as far as I know, and we just went home. That's it. It's only been a day, but I feel like it's over and I'm free of him. Unfortunately, I'll have to change some things in my routine. I usually run at 6 a.m., so not a lot of people around. I'm gonna miss that coffee shop though. They made the best breakfast wraps, but I'm not taking any chances, and I'll go grocery shopping with my cousin. Hopefully, he will just leave me alone. Well done, OP, for everything. It sucks that you have to change your routine, but just to be on the safe side, it's good to do it. Because he is stalking you, so maybe you should also keep a register of that if you need to go for a restraining order. But in the meantime, here's wishing you the best, OP. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user InnerRadabaga2055. Am I the a-hole for wanting to back out of doing my sister-in-law a favor cause I don't like that she installed cameras to be on the safe side? My wife used to get our niece ready and take her to daycare every Friday since she was off. Her sister had to be at work by 6:30 and daycare did not open until 7. My wife's work schedule changed and she could no longer do it. So I offered to change my schedule around to start work at 10. We have been doing this for around 4 months. My sister-in-law has voiced no concerns, and when she calls, I always answer. However, we recently found out she installed cameras in her house. When my wife brought it up, she told her, "You never know." I will be honest, I was taken aback because she has had no complaints in the past, but now she wants to have cameras because you never know? My wife did ask her sister, "Has my husband done anything that made you concerned or worried?" She told her no, but it was a safety issue. Once again, she told my wife, "You never know." At this point, I told my wife I didn't want to go into her house. I don't feel comfortable being in a home or around her daughter if she is that concerned. My wife agrees, it is weird. Also, considering I have known her sister for over 16 years. Others think I am blowing it out of proportion, but I don't like how she assumes the worst of me because I'm a male. She told my wife she had no concerns when she was doing it. Not the a-hole, OP, you're not blowing this out of proportion, you're setting a boundary, and that's exactly what a reasonable, self-respecting person does when trust is silently questioned. Let's be clear. Cameras aren't inherently wrong, but the context matters. Your sister-in-law was okay with you taking her daughter to daycare for 4 months without saying anything about it. No concerns, no nothing. And now, with no incident, suddenly, you never know is enough to justify surveillance? That's not a neutral move, that's a silent accusation. Why didn't she feel the need to install cameras when your wife was doing the exact same thing? And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Electrical Worker 88 says, "Are you sure the camera was installed specifically to monitor you or for general security? If it's just you, then check out the team memo that went out yesterday afternoon. It turns out that your schedule has changed and you will no longer be able to start work at 10. Pomelo Pepper says, "How about, quote, it's clear that you aren't comfortable with me being alone with your daughter. I'm going to do the right thing and end this arrangement so you can find someone you can truly trust your child with." End quote. Vegetable Cod says, "Not the a-hole. If she installed cameras just because you specifically started getting her kid ready for daycare, then no, she doesn't need your help because she doesn't trust you, and it's best for everyone if the person there is someone she trusts. Quote, I'm hurt that you doubt my character and motives enough to install cameras, and I'm ending my help. This level of mistrust is unacceptable. You should trust the person caring for your daughter." End quote. And Mediocre Ad 3496 says, "Sister-in-law has every right to put up cameras if she feels more secure. You have every right to feel offended and hurt. I would in similar. No problem. You also have every right to no longer subject yourself to the surveillance. I would not want to be around a child whose mother had even the slightest level of apprehension." Bravo to the mom for doing what she feels is best for the safety of the child, and bravo to the OP for deciding to have more free time for himself in the morning from now on. I would decline further assistance to your sister-in-law as far as childcare goes. That way, I could avoid the feelings of being accused. Your feelings are as valid as her concerns. Why try and change either? Just respond accordingly. No anger, no drama. Alright, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. Sister-in-law is entitled to put up cameras, and OP is entitled to say, I don't want to do this anymore. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. I do appreciate the feedback and differing perspectives. I did speak with my sister-in-law, with my wife, and to say the least, it was enlightening. I did ask my sister-in-law why the sudden urge to install cameras. As she told my wife, she said it was for safety purposes, since you never know. My wife pushed back and asked her to elaborate on what she meant. My sister-in-law tried to avoid answering directly, but my wife kept pushing, and finally, she did admit she was not comfortable with me changing her daughter unsupervised. At this point, I asked my sister-in-law if she truly felt I would harm her daughter. She honestly shrugged her shoulders. This annoyed me, but it did piss off my wife. My wife once again pushed the issue, and it turns out my sister-in-law was never comfortable with me watching her daughter and felt betrayed by my wife because she changed up an arrangement that worked. She said I was far too eager to change my work schedule to take over Fridays. It came off as insistent. I told her yes, I was insistent because I did not want my wife to give up on an opportunity because she felt beholden to an arrangement she made with her. After that exchange, I told my sister-in-law I would no longer take her daughter to daycare. This happened on Wednesday. She took off last Friday. So, long story short, she never wanted me to watch her daughter unsupervised. She found it strange how eager I was to rearrange my Fridays to be with my niece. My wife's family thinks I am being weird and creepy. My wife had one last final conversation with her sister on Friday, and apparently it got ugly, since sister-in-law did call to apologize, and I did appreciate that, but I told her, you either trust me or you don't. Since she does not, I did recommend she finds someone that she does trust so she can be at ease. She tried to give me a sob story about how we are being unfair towards her. All she was trying to do was keep her daughter safe. I told her the best way for her to do that was to find someone else she trusts to handle Fridays or change her job schedule. I was going to originally offer, as some suggested, she brings her daughter to us before she heads to work. But after that conversation, I decided it was best for everyone that I took a step back. I don't know what will come of this in terms of the family, since most think I am being unreasonable, but my wife and I agree that if she is not comfortable with me, it is not our duty to make her comfortable. Thanks again. OP's edit. I did want to point out that as many have said, yeah, my wife is awesome. She has asked why I am not upset. I am upset, but more so hurt. Not just because of what was said about me, but more so because this situation will forever alter the relationship we have with her family, and I know that hurts my wife a lot. We love our niece, but I know my wife and her have a special bond that is her godchild, so I am more so hurt that this has created a rift that will probably never be mended. Well, Opie, I think you and your wife had made the right decision, and your sister-in-law, well, she's just gonna have to find other arrangements or start taking all of her Fridays off. As you said, if she's not comfortable with you, then you don't need to try and work around to make her comfortable, and your wife most certainly doesn't need to forego opportunities just because her sister doesn't want your help. So again, good for you, and here's wishing you both the best in the future. Thanks for sharing and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.